Okay, so the next step is now we're going to actually build our scenario. Now I've already added the Google Drive and Gmail apps to this scenario here, but if you need to add them, you can click on the plus button down here or the plus button here, and then search for the thing that you want to add, such as Dropbox, and then click on that and it will show up in your favorited apps. And those apps are they're preloaded into your scenario when you open it. So all the functionality that is available, the different modules and actions, they're all quickly accessible because they're all preloaded and cached. Now, the first step here is we're watching for emails in Gmail. So let's add that first step. Now, when we look at this, quite often we'll have, this one here doesn't have one, but there might be multiple options of watching emails, searching for, listing emails, that sort of thing. Here we've just got the option of watching emails. We'll use that. And I've got my email account here. We can filter it to a folder if we want. We might select inbox, for instance, for all the files going into the inbox, or you might set up a Gmail filter which pushes all the emails into, say, an invoice folder, and then we're just watching that invoice folder. And the benefits of that is that it's not going to trigger this scenario as frequently, because it's not going to trigger for every single email that gets received. It's going to be filtered to a folder, and in that folder you may just want to push certain emails into it to then trigger this automation. So that's what we'll use for this, the invoices folder. Then we've got an option of a simple filter, which means that now we can watch for all emails, read emails or unread. We'll just use all emails. Should we mark the messages as read when they're fetched? Yes, I think that will make sense. We'll mark them as read. How many emails do we want to have each time this runs? Let's just say 10 emails each time, and that will be the maximum number that it gets. So if we set this scenario to run once a day, and we had 20 invoices come in today, well, it's just going to run 10 of those. And then tomorrow it's going to run the next 10. But if you get 20 invoices every single day, well, now you're going to have this queue of invoices that are just slowly going to build up over time, and it's never going to fully process everything. So it's quite important to sort of step back for a minute, think about how many invoices or how many emails are we likely to receive each month, and then break that down into the interval that you're going to set this scenario up to run. So if it's going to run every day and you're expecting maybe 100 invoices in the month, well, you're probably going to need maybe 3 to 5 emails every time it runs, right? Just to be on the safe side. You always want to allow for maybe a 20 to 30% extra. So that's our settings. We can look at the advanced settings here as well, which means that we could also filter for email addresses. We might filter for like sales at or invoice at. We could filter for subject, which might be invoice, even a search phrase, which this is going to be a Gmail search phrase. I would recommend staying away from these. And if you want to, I would set up filters in your Gmail or Outlook account to push all those different types of emails into this invoices folder. And that way we're putting all the heavy lifting onto Gmail, and we're keeping our scenario fairly lightweight, which will mean that your operations are going to be fairly lightweight. So now we've got the option of choosing where to start our watch. Now, you'll only get this option for a watch module, and that's because a watch module is going to be watching something. And here we've got the option of saying, I want you to watch this thing from this date, or from this email, or from now until, forever in the future, or just go back all the way as far as you can and watch everything from the beginning. So, and then keeping in mind that this is going to then process, say, 10 emails every time it runs from wherever we say that we want to watch from. So I'm just going to set it to all emails for now. We'll probably change that later to from now on, but all emails for now will make sure that I've got some emails to download data from for when we're testing. Now, the next step, I can run this module to see if there's anything that's going to show up in that search. Now I've right-clicked on it, I've run the module, I've got my success bubble on the top here. Just going to load that up. I honestly don't know what's in here. So here we've got Airtable, We can see that Airtable sent us an invoice. We've got response flow by the looks. I don't know what that is. And Acuity scheduler. So it looks like it's working already. And I've got some filters already set up in Gmail that are going to be filtering out our invoices into that folder already. So that's step one done. Now, if you do get this where it's, for instance, you've run it, but it's sort of frozen, it's broken, and you could try force stopping. In my experience, that never really works. So you generally just hit save first so that you save your progress. You'll have a little confirmation in the lower right, and then just hit refresh on the page, and then that will just do a hard refresh and load it again. Okay, so we're back in here. So now we've got our watching for the emails. Now the next step is that we're going to have to download any attachments that those emails have. So we're going to click on our Gmail module, click on iterate attachments, and here we've got the option of our source module. Now this automatically maps to a Gmail watch emails module. That's the default mapping. And so here we can see that, great, that's all linked up nicely. Now we're going to be iterating our attachments from this particular email. Now you'll see here that we've got an error showing, and that's because Make is basically doing a check and saying, well, we're iterating, but we're not doing anything with this, and that's a fairly uncommon thing. I would expect you to want to save the file or change the file or do something. So it's saying, well, we're iterating, but we're not doing anything, so I'm going to show you an error. But what we'll do now is we'll tell it what we want it to do. So we've iterated those attachments. Now, if you don't know what an iteration is basically, we've got a list of things, and we're basically taking one thing out of that list, and if you imagine like a basket of items, and you've gone through the grocery store, you've added everything into the basket, you've got a list of items, your shopping list, and now you're at the checkout and you're taking item 1 out, taking item 2 out, you're iterating through the items in that list, right? And you're just putting them out one by one onto the checkout. Now here, how that processes in our scenario logic is we've got our one email, and our one email may have 5 attachments. And so now one email goes from this module, goes to our iterate attachments module, and now we have 5 attachments coming from this iterate attachments module. Now you do have to be careful with the iteration in Make, because if you've done a search or an iteration somewhere, you can very quickly multiply the number of operations that get used in your scenario, right? So if you had a iterate attachments, and then for each attachment you then wanted to search for something, and then you're getting 10 of those, and you've got 5 attachments, well now you've got 5 times 10, right? So now you've got 50 things going on from that point. Now I cover iteration and aggregation a lot more in the advanced course, so this is really just a crash dive into it. But here we've got each one of those attachments is now going to move from this module to this module. So we're going to have 5 attachments, one after the other. I'm just going to move from this module to the next module. So here we've got the option of selecting to either automatically map from our iteration module, which is the default, or we can change our mapping here. Now, if you wanted to change the mapping, you could put in a custom file name. So we could put in front of all these files invoice, for instance, inv underscore, and then whatever the original file name was. Now, keeping in mind that if you're going to do that, you need to put the file extension on, but the original file name has the extension already, so we would just want to make sure that we're putting something in front of that original file. You could also maybe change this and put, instead of the file name, you might want to put the sender name, and you might want to put, say, the invoice from sender name, and then you might want to put in like today's date, for instance. So you could go to the date, now, and then you'd probably want to format that to make it look pretty. And again, just giving you a bit of some ideas here to crash course through this. Oops, that's what I want it to look like. So we might just put in year, and then dash, and then month, and I wouldn't worry about the day. So now what will happen is we've got invoice underscore, and this might be Acuity scheduler underscore, and then we've just added in today's date, or the date that this runs and then we're going to format that into a year dash month, right? So this will then be formatted. If today's date is 2023, it will look like something like this. Invoice, all lowercase of course, invoice, and then we'll have Acuity Scheduler. Currently will probably come in full title case currently, and then we'll have today's date, which will be 2023, and then we put a dash in there, and then the month, which might be 02, right? So that's what our and then we also have to put in the file type, which we'll have to put PDF or similar there. File name yeah, we could also map in the MIME type as well into here, but for now PDF will be fine. So we've basically created our custom file name here. We could also adjust this name to make it all lowercase. We could trim out the white space at the beginning and end of the string. We could also do a find and replace and get rid of the spaces within that string and replace them with hyphens, for instance. So there's a whole lot of things that we can do here. That's just really a brief sort of look behind the curtain, and I don't want to go into that too much here. Now the next step is that we have to choose our folder that we're going to upload this to. Now if you've got the ID of the folder, which you can get from the URL, then you can just put that in straight away and be done. Otherwise you can choose with the mapping here, and what this does is it's going to then do an API call to Google Drive, and now it's going to return our list of folders, and we're just going to put this under our backups folder, and now it's just going to go into that backups folder. If I wanted to go into a subfolder in there, which I don't think I have one, I do, I can click on the plus button and then I can choose a subfolder, and you can go down the line here and choose as many subfolders as you want. However, if you're going to be choosing like 20 subfolders deep, it's actually much better just to enter manually and then just put in the folder ID here. That's the simplest way to do it. So now we've got our emails, we've got our attachments being iterated, and now we're uploading into Google Drive. So we've pretty much done the entire build out, the core functionality now. So now we just want to double check that this is going to get 10, okay? So it's not going to run hundreds. We want to set our scheduler. We'll just set the scheduler to once for now. We can adjust the scheduler later. And then we just want to confirm that what we've built so far, the core function, is going to work. So now we've hit run. We've got our list of emails, should be 10 emails. And now the next step is, well, do those emails have attachments? Yes. Okay, so we've got 10 had attachments, or maybe 10 were iterated, but only one had an attachment by the looks. So now we're just going to click on that bubble, having a quick look at our emails. Looks like all of them except for this one, number 4, email number 4, didn't have attachments, right? So the rest of these don't have attachments. And I can see that, or I can guess that, because only one was uploaded to Google Drive out of 10. So I had 10 here, but only one was uploaded. Okay, so that's the core function built and tested. The next step here is we'll jump into adding some more logic to this, such as filters and routers, and really processing the data a bit more.